$5,000 for one evening? Miss Hayes, in return, all you have to do is be a pretty shadow and smile at the right times beside me." That blunt and somewhat contemptuous offer was like a bucket of cold water poured straight into Amelia Hayes' self-esteem, making her stunned in the cozy space, faintly smelling of roasted coffee of the daily grind. Outside the glass door, the bustling crowd of Chicago passed by indifferently, completely opposite to the suffocation rising in her chest. Lucas Davenport, the young CEO with a refined appearance but sharp eyes like knives, just uttered those words with a terrifying calmness, as if he was buying an expensive piece of jewelry, not hiring a human being. Amelia tightened her worn apron, feeling like she had just been pushed into a play she did not want to act in. Under the stage lights were the probing eyes of a strange and treacherous world. That Monday began with a dull headache for Lucas Davenport, the 35-year-old CEO of Davenport & Co., one of Chicago's leading architecture and interior design firms. The pressure came not from a half-finished drawing or a difficult client, but from a brief email that sat on his computer screen, carrying both hope and despair. Eleanor Vance, a notoriously sophisticated and powerful real estate investor who held the keys to the multi-million-dollar Serenity Shores resort project his company had been pursuing with all her might, had just sent an email confirming that she would be in Chicago for the weekend. Good news. But it also came with an unexpected request, conveyed through her assistant. Mrs. Vance is looking forward to seeing Mr. Davenport and his wife at a dinner party on Saturday night at the Langham Hotel. She believes that harmony in her personal life is often a reflection of professionalism and vision in her work. Lucas groaned, burying his face in his hands. "Madam." He was single. His last girlfriend, a model with a busier schedule than the president, had broken up with him via text message 3 months ago. He was so focused on taking Davenport & Co. to the next level that his personal life was practically a blank slate. Ben Carter, Lucas's VP and college friend, walked into the office with 2 cups of coffee in hand. Seeing his friend's mournful expression, "What's wrong? Did the blueprint get returned?" Lucas showed Ben the email. Ben skimmed it, then burst out laughing. "Mrs. Davenport. Well, it looks like you're going to have to perform a miracle. Stop joking. Ben, this is the deal of the century. If I lose it because I don't have a wife." Lucas sighed. Mrs. Vance is known for her image. A partner with a stable private life. A refined life partner. That's what she's looking for, in addition to professional competence. Ben took a sip of coffee, looking thoughtful. 5 days. This Saturday? That's tough. He was silent for a moment. Then a daring idea flashed in his eyes. How about we find someone? Lucas frowned. Find what do you mean? Well, hire an actress, or someone who can act well, to pretend to be your wife for an evening, Ben said, half joking. Just for an evening, put on some makeup, dress up, make small talk. Mrs. Vance won't know. Lucas looked at Ben as if his friend had grown a second head. Are you crazy? That's cheating. It's unethical. What if we find out? Well, we lose the contract. But if we do nothing, we also risk losing it because you're unmarried. Ben argued. Sometimes you have to take risks. Lucas, this isn't a date. This is business. It's about finding the right person. Someone smart, charming, and most importantly, someone who can keep a secret. Lucas rubbed his temples. The thought was crazy, but the pressure of Serenity Shores was too much. He had poured so much life into it, so many sleepless nights. He couldn't let it slip away for such a trivial reason. Who will be chosen? Lucas muttered, almost to himself. And will this act work? He looked out the window, the John Hancock building towering proudly over the Chicago skyline. He needed a miracle, or at least a talented actor. In the afternoon, still reeling from impossible solutions, Lucas stopped by the Daily Grind, a small coffee shop tucked away on a side street, hoping a strong espresso might help him clear his head. The shop wasn't too crowded, and the air was cozy with the faint scent of roasted coffee and baked goods. While waiting, his eyes accidentally stopped at a girl sitting in the corner of the shop, behind the cashier. She seemed to be an employee here. Her dark brown hair was tied up haphazardly, a few strands of hair falling over her forehead. She wore a pair of thick-rimmed glasses, covering almost half of her face. Her outfit was also very simple, the shop's uniform t-shirt and jeans. Lucas wouldn't have noticed her if it weren't for a small detail. She was diligently drawing something on a napkin with a ballpoint pen. Her eyes focused and absorbed. Curious. Lucas glanced at it. It was a quick sketch of an elderly customer reading a newspaper at the opposite table. Just a few simple strokes, but it captured the man's demeanor surprisingly well. There was a subtlety and talent in those scribbles. As Lucas received his espresso and turned to leave, he accidentally bumped into the girl's sugar tray, sending several sugar packets and a half-drawn napkin falling to the ground. "Oh, sorry I'm so clumsy." Lucas quickly bent down to help pick it up. The girl looked up, slightly startled. "It's okay," she said, her voice soft, as she removed her glasses to rub her eyes. Lucas caught a glimpse of warm hazel eyes and long lashes. "Your drawing is beautiful," Lucas said, pointing to the tissue he had picked up. The girl blushed slightly. "Just drawing random things in my spare time. I'm Amelia Hayes." She held out her hand. "Lucas Davenport," he replied, shaking her hand. A vague idea began to form in his mind. He had no idea if Amelia Hayes was beautiful behind her glasses and plain appearance, but he sensed an artistic quality, an intelligence, and perhaps a certain knowledge of art from the way she commented on a small abstract painting hanging on the wall of the cafe that he had casually asked about. "Do you study art?" Miss Hayes Lucas asked, trying to pry further. "I have a BA in graphic design, but I work here now," Amelia replied, a little hesitantly. Lucas nodded. A crazy but perhaps feasible plan starting to take shape. The next morning, Lucas returned to the daily grind. This time, he didn't order coffee. He waited until Amelia finished her shift and stopped her at the door. "Miss Hayes, may I speak with you for a moment? It's quite important." Amelia was a little surprised, but agreed. They found a bench in a nearby park. Lucas didn't beat around the bush. He explained very selectively that he needed a sophisticated, art and design-savvy companion to attend a very important business event on Saturday night. That companion would have to pretend to be his fiancée. He named a figure $5,000 for the evening. Amelia was stunned, her eyes widening as she looked at Lucas as if he had just arrived from another planet. You're joking." "Right. Pretending to be your wife. $5,000. She laughed, a bitter laugh. "Mr. Davenport, I may work at a coffee shop, but I'm not the type to do that. You've got the wrong man." She stood up to leave. "Wait. Miss Hayes," Lucas said quickly, "please listen to me. This isn't anything shady. It's just a special request. My partner is very family-oriented. That amount of money, I know it seems like a lot, but it's commensurate with the help I need." Amelia paused, but her expression was still skeptical. $5,000. That would solve a lot of her problems right now, rent that was 2 months overdue, student loans that still existed, and most importantly, the advanced 3D design course she'd been dreaming of so she could find a job in her field after the small design firm where she had interned went bankrupt. Lucas seemed to read the hesitation in her eyes. "Besides," he added, his voice softer, "this event will be packed with people from the art and design world. It could be a chance for you to meet people, to network. I've seen some of your other sketches online. You're very talented, Ms. Hayes. It would be a waste if that talent went unnoticed." Lucas's words hit Amelia right in the gut. Opportunity. A chance to escape her current precarious job, to return to her passion. But at the cost of having to act out a play, deceiving others, she struggled fiercely. Pride and financial necessity tore at her. Finally, after a long silence, she sighed. If I agree, there will be clear conditions. And just one evening, no more, no less." Lucas breathed a sigh of relief. Of course. It'll be spelled out in the contract. Thank you. Ms. Hayes, you won't regret it. Amelia wasn't sure about that, but she had made up her mind. The next 2 days were a whirlwind for Amelia. Lucas kept his promise. A clear contract was drawn up, detailing roles, schedules, and payments. Ben Carter, with surprising enthusiasm, took on the responsibility of crash training for Amelia. Okay, Amelia, Ben said, holding a long list. Step 1 appearance. We need to transform you from a coffee artist into a potential Mrs. Davenport. Amelia was taken to high-end fashion stores on Michigan Avenue, which she could only look at from afar. At first, she felt out of place and embarrassed by the expensive clothes and the scrutiny of the sales staff. But when asked to choose, Amelia's hidden taste began to emerge. She chose things that were not too flashy, but rather elegant, sophisticated, and designs that flattered her figure while still maintaining a classic look. She even gave her stylist suggestions on color combinations and accessories, surprising Ben and the professional stylist Lucas hired. "This girl has an eye," the stylist whispered to Ben. Then came hair, skin care, and makeup trials. Amelia seemed to transform little by little. Lucas's first real shock came on Thursday night, when Amelia came to his penthouse for a final dress fitting for the party. Ben had specifically told Amelia not to wear her glasses and to let her newly cropped, naturally styled chestnut brown hair down. When Amelia stepped out of the dressing room, wearing a body-hugging emerald green silk dress that accentuated her soft curves and smooth white skin, Lucas, who was examining a design drawing on the desk, had to look up, and he froze. The woman in front of him was no longer the waitress with thick glasses and messy hair. She was a beauty. Her face was delicate with harmonious features. Her big round hazel eyes were even more sparkling when not covered. Her nose was high and her lips were full and smiling. That beauty was not the sharp, hot type, but a gentle, intelligent, and profound beauty. What is it? Mr. Davenport, is something wrong? Amelia asked, her voice slightly embarrassed when she saw Lucas staring at her without blinking. Lucas coughed, trying to calm himself, but his heart was beating a little faster. "No, nothing. Very beautiful, Miss Hayes. The dress suits you very well." He turned away, trying to hide his embarrassment. He never imagined that the girl he had accidentally hired could be this beautiful. It was a pleasant surprise, but it also made him feel a little different. Friday night, the night before the big day, Lucas and Amelia sat in the living room of his apartment to go over the script. Ben was there, acting as an involuntary director. "Okay, you two have been dating for 6 months," Ben began. "Met at an art gallery." Lucas was attracted to Amelia's knowledge of Impressionism, and Amelia was, impressed by Lucas's height. Lucas glared at Ben. Amelia laughed. Together, they construct a fake love story. Find common interests. Lucas discovers they both like classical jazz and Woody Allen movies, and agree on the little details of their life together. In the process, the initial walls between Lucas and Amelia gradually came down. They talked not only about the script, but also about themselves. Amelia talked about her dream of owning her own design studio, about the paintings she drew during sleepless nights. Lucas, for the first time in years, spoke openly about the pressures of running a large company, about the sacrifices he had to make. There were awkward moments when Ben made them practice holding hands or looking at each other affectionately. But there were also times when they truly found a connection, when Lucas spoke passionately about an architectural work he admired. Amelia listened with genuine admiration. When Amelia analyzed a contemporary work of art that Lucas didn't fully understand, he was captivated by the intelligence and passion in her voice. Suddenly, the doorbell rang. Clara Jenkins, head of marketing at Davenport & Co., a beautiful blonde, always impeccably dressed, and somewhat pretentious woman, walked in. She was clearly uninvited, but made herself at home. "Lucas, I just stopped by to see how you're getting ready for tomorrow," Clara said, her voice sweet but her eyes scanning Amelia from head to toe with an unfriendly scrutiny. "Oh, and this must be your companion. Hello, Miss Jenkins. I'm Amelia Hayes." Amelia smiled, extending her hand politely. Clara just touched Amelia's fingertips. "Nice to meet you. I hope you've been trained well. Mrs. Vance is a very difficult person." She emphasized the word trained deliberately. "I believe Amelia will do very well," Lucas said, his voice slightly displeased by Clara's attitude. Amelia kept smiling. "I hope so. At least I know the difference between a copy of a Monet and an original, which not everyone can do," she said absently, but her eyes were fixed on Clara, who had once boasted about a Monet in the office that was later discovered to be a high-end fake. Clara looked a little embarrassed. Ben tried hard not to laugh. Lucas looked at Amelia with a hint of interest. This girl was not simple. When Clara left, the atmosphere in the room became somewhat more relaxed. Lucas felt a new respect for Amelia. She was not only beautiful, but also intelligent and sharp, subtle. Nameless vibrations began to creep into his heart, which had been hardened by work. Saturday night, the Langham Hotel was resplendent and opulent. Crystal chandeliers, classical music, and guests in formal evening gowns. Lucas, dressed in a tuxedo, felt his heart beat faster than usual, not just because of the pressure of the upcoming meeting, but for another reason. He was waiting for Amelia in the lobby. As she appeared at the top of the grand staircase, descending each step, Lucas felt as if time had stopped. If the last time he was only shocked by her unexpected beauty, this time he was completely overwhelmed. Amelia was like a goddess stepping out of a classical painting. The burgundy evening gown was made of silk organza, with an off-shoulder design hugging her perfect curves. The skirt gently flared out with each step. Her dark brown hair was meticulously tied up, revealing her slender neck and small sparkling diamond earrings. Her face was delicately made up, highlighting her intelligent hazel eyes, her lips painted with seductive burgundy lipstick, and a confident, radiant smile. She was no longer the shy waitress, or the beautiful but slightly shy woman at the fitting room. Standing before him now was a true lady, exuding elegance, intelligence, and an irresistible charm. He was shocked when he saw her so beautiful. The words echoed in Lucas's head. He was shocked. Shocked by her stunning beauty, shocked by her dramatic transformation, and shocked because he realized, in that moment, something greater than surprise was growing inside him. You're gorgeous." "Amelia?" Lucas stammered, holding out his hand to her. Amelia smiled, placing her hand in his. "Thank you, Lucas. You look very handsome too." They walked into the banquet hall side by side. All eyes seemed to be on them. The young, talented CEO, Lucas Davenport, and the beautiful, mysterious woman beside him. Even Clara Jenkins, who was chatting with a group of people, had to turn around to look, her eyes filled with surprise and a little bit of nameless jealousy. Eleanor Vance, in a black Chanel gown, her platinum hair cropped short and stylish, approached them. She was a woman of about 60, but still sharp and authoritative. Her keen eyes swept over Lucas, then stopped at Amelia, observing him carefully. "Hello, Mr. Davenport. It's nice to meet you," said Mrs. Vance, then turned to Amelia. "And this must be Mrs. Vance. This is Amelia Hayes, my fiancée," Lucas introduced, trying to keep his voice calm. "It's a pleasure to meet you, Mrs. Vance." Amelia smiled charmingly, her voice warm and confident. "I've heard so much about you and your passion projects from Lucas." Mrs. Vance frowned subtly. "Oh, really, Lucas doesn't talk much about work at home. A bit of a challenge?" But Amelia was undaunted. "He doesn't go into details, ma'am, but I can feel his passion every time he talks about the work he and his team have created. It's truly inspiring." Throughout the evening, Amelia completely won over Mrs. Vance and the other demanding guests. Not only was she gorgeous, but she also shone with her intelligence and knowledge. When Mrs. Vance, a connoisseur of art, asked questions about the works on display at the party, Amelia answered fluently, making insightful and subtle comments. She discussed the similarities between Gothic architecture and modern design principles, and the influence of the Bauhaus school on contemporary interiors, leaving even Lucas surprised at her erudition. She did not act like a mobile flower vase beside Lucas, but a real partner, a woman with depth and personality of her own. Lucas felt a sense of pride rising in his heart when he saw Amelia confidently chatting, smiling gracefully. He almost forgot that this was just a play. While everything was going smoothly, a guest, Mr. Harrison Croft, Lucas's longtime competitor, deliberately approached their table. "Hello, Davenport," Mr. Croft said, his voice a little sarcastic. "I hear your Serenity Shores project is having some trouble with the land acquisition. What a shame for such a beautiful design." He spoke loudly so that Mrs. Vance could hear. Lucas frowned slightly, preparing to retort, but Amelia was one step faster. She smiled at Mr. Croft. "Mr. Croft, I believe that every great project has its own challenges. What matters is how we face and solve them. And I have full faith in Lucas and his team. Persistence and vision are often the keys to turning beautiful designs on paper into wonderful realities. Don't you think Amelia's clever, tactful, and supportive answer not only left Mr. Croft speechless, but also impressed Mrs. Vance? She looked at Amelia with an appreciative gaze. Then, when it was just Lucas, Amelia, and Mrs. Vance, she turned to Amelia with a mysterious smile. "Miss Hayes, I see that you and Lucas seem to be very compatible. But let me ask you something personal. What is it about Lucas that makes you decide to tie your life to a man who only knows his work?" An unexpected question, not in the script. Lucas held his breath. Amelia looked at Lucas, her gaze soft and genuine, without any pretense. "Mrs. Vance?" she said slowly. "It's true that Lucas is passionate about his work, but it's that passion that I admire about him. He doesn't just build buildings, he creates living spaces, places that bring joy and comfort to people, and behind that seemingly cold, focused exterior, there's a warm heart, a caring man who always tries to do the right thing. He may not have much time for romantic dates, but every moment I spend with him, I feel sincerity and respect. And to me, that's what's most important in building a lasting relationship." Amelia's words, coming from her true feelings about Lucas over the past few days, touched both Lucas and Mrs. Vance's hearts. Lucas looked at Amelia, a strong emotion welling up inside him. She wasn't just acting, she was saying the best she saw in him. Mrs. Vance smiled. "You are a very special woman. Miss Hayes, Lucas, you are very lucky." In the luxurious limousine that took them back from the party, silence reigned. Amelia leaned her head back against the seat, eyes closed, the aftertaste of the evening still lingering. Lucas turned to look at her, the woman who had taken him from one surprise to another. "Amelia," he said, breaking the silence, "thank you for everything tonight. You were more than wonderful." Amelia opened her eyes, smiling. "That's my job, isn't it?" "No," Lucas said, his voice serious. "It wasn't just a job. What you said, what you did, it was real. And He hesitated, searching for the words. "I was shocked. Amelia, shocked because you were so beautiful, but even more shocked because I realized how stupid I was to not see it from the start. And more importantly, to not see the wonderful person inside you." He took her hand, their fingers intertwining. "At first, I admit, I saw you as a stopgap, a stand-in. But I was wrong. You're smart, you're charming, you have an admirable artistic soul, and you've completely won me over." Amelia's heart beat faster. She looked deep into Lucas's eyes, seeing the sincerity in them. "Lucas, I know we started out with a contract, Lucas continued, his voice thick with emotion. "But I don't want it to end there. Amelia, I think I've fallen in love with you." Amelia felt her cheeks heat up. Me too. Lucas, I'm starting to have very special feelings for you too. I admire your talent, your determination, and the kindness you try so hard to hide. No more words were needed. Lucas leaned down slowly, and they shared a kiss. A kiss that was no longer an act, no longer part of a contract, but the beginning of something real, sweet, and full of promise. A few days later, Lucas received a call from Mrs. Eleanor Vance. "Mr. Davenport, I have carefully considered your proposal." "Mrs." Vance said, her voice still professional but with a touch of warmth. "And I have decided to invest in the Serenity Shores project." Lucas breathed a sigh of relief, a bright smile spreading across his lips. "That was wonderful, Mrs. Vance. You won't be disappointed." "I believe so," replied Mrs. Vance. "And it must be said that your fiancée, Miss Amelia Hayes, has had a great deal to do with this decision. Her intelligence, her sensitivity, and her unfailing support of you have shown me that you have a strong support system and a like-minded partner. That is important in long-term partnerships." She paused for a moment and then continued. "By the way, I am very impressed with Ms. Hayes' knowledge of art and her taste. I am currently looking for an art consultant for the decoration of the common spaces of the Serenity Shores Resort. If she is interested, I would love to have her involved in this project. Or at the very least, I can introduce her to a few reputable art galleries in Chicago." Lucas couldn't hide his joy. This was not only good news for him, but also a great opportunity for Amelia. When he told Amelia the news, she couldn't help but shed tears of happiness. Finally, her dream was about to come true. Clara Jenkins, upon hearing the news of the project's success and Amelia's role in it, had to admit that she had underestimated the woman she had once despised. Perhaps true beauty lies in more than designer clothes or flashy looks. 6 months passed. Amelia Hayes is no longer a waitress at the Daily Grind. She has become a sought-after freelance graphic designer and art consultant for several major projects, including Serenity Shores. She has opened her own small studio where she can freely create. Her beauty is increasingly radiant, not only because of the elegant outfits she wears, but also because of the confidence and happiness that shines from her eyes. Lucas Davenport and Amelia Hayes have made their relationship public. No more lies, no more drama. They truly love each other, with all sincerity and respect. One beautiful autumn afternoon at a contemporary art exhibition, where they had set the scene for their first meeting, Lucas knelt before Amelia, holding an exquisite diamond ring in his hand. "Amelia Hayes," he said, his voice trembling with emotion. "We started with a lie, but my love for you is the truest thing in my life. Will you marry me, not to introduce me to some other partner, but to build a happy future with me forever?" Amelia burst into tears, nodding vigorously. "I do." Lucas, "I do." They hugged each other among the works of art, to the applause of the people around them. Their story, which began with a false need, ended with true love. Lucas was shocked when he first truly saw Amelia's beauty, but what made him fall in love with her was the beauty of her soul, intelligence and resilience hidden behind that appearance. And Amelia, from an ordinary girl, found not only love, but also self-affirmation, proving that true beauty and talent will always shine when given the opportunity. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this story. If you love this story, don't forget to click like to support the channel. Share this story with family and friends, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any stories.